Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf, two of the most legendary names in professional tennis. Between them, they hold more than 200 singles titles, including 8 Grand Slams for Agassi and a remarkable 22 Grand Slam wins for Graf. Since retirement, the powerhouse couple has been devoted to their family and charitable foundations, both of which focus on helping some of the world's most vulnerable children succeed against all odds. The Andre Agassi Foundation for Education works to give underprivileged children across the United States access to better educational opportunities. Among its many initiatives, the foundation now operates a kindergarten to grade 12 college preparatory academy in Las Vegas and has built nearly 30 other schools across the United States. For Graf, the focus is more global. Her nonprofit organization, Children of Tomorrow, works with children who have been victims of war, persecution, and violence, giving them access to medical therapy and equipping them with the tools to cope with post-traumatic stress disorder and to rebuild their lives. In addition to local project work in Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, Children of Tomorrow also operates an outpatient clinic for refugee children that is based in Hamburg. I recently sat down with Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf in Las Vegas to get their thoughts on their reign as tennis greats and their life away from the tennis court.
Andre, one of my favorite parts in your book is when Steffi's father comes and he's talking to you, and it's part German, part English, but you know that he's going to meet your dad. And it's interesting because both of your fathers were so pivotal in, creating these extraordinary tennis players. And so the first thing that went through my mind is if they weren't that way, would the two of you have ever met? What would you change because it seemed like you were destined to be tennis stars, from an early age.
Wow, I don't know. I can't speak for you at all on that one, but for me, if it wasn't for my father, I would have had no chance. I had to outwork so many limitations. I wasn't the greatest athlete out there by any stretch, but I hit the ball so clean, and I did that because my father taught me a certain way, and I hit so many balls as a youngster, and without that intensity and without my own drama, I don't know if I would have found, fear is a great motivator. So I spent most of my life and career fearing the alternative, which is what the heck else am I going to do, So that motivated me a great deal.
How about you?
I don't think without the intensity and passion my dad had for the sport of tennis, I would have picked up a tennis racket. He taught tennis, he gave lessons, and so I would always see the tennis rackets and tennis balls. My mom played as well for a club, so both parents loved the game, and without that, I would have probably never been out there.
But if you picked up the racket without that, you still would have beat everybody. That's the difference.
Yeah.
If I had picked up the racket, I never could have done the work required that I went through. You could have been self-motivated, maybe. Not me, I don't think.
One of the things I also liked about your book, and I've picked up the page number, it's page 66. You're there with your buddy, Perry, and you make this pact. You said, you vow with him when you're rich, you're going to help the world, which I thought was remarkable. Here you are, this young kid, and you really are passionate about philanthropy.
Yes.
So does it stem from that, or it just kind of just stayed with you?
I think when you're young, you don't know why you feel the way you do. And I think at the time, that was such a powerful emotion for me, or desire or dream, because I felt incredibly like I didn't have choice in my own upbringing, and I felt somewhat of a victim in hindsight. Looking back, I kind of felt trapped in my life, and the instinct and the reaction to that, I think, is to dream about the day when you can take a child who feels this way and make them feel differently. So certainly my upbringing and my lack of choice at that stage it was very intense and had a profound impact on me, enough that at 12, 13 years old, I was already thinking, if I ever have a chance to help somebody who's in my situation, who just wants a better life or wants a different life, I'm going to do it. It's kind of like when you turn 16 and you're thinking, gosh, it'd be so nice if I had a car. If I ever make a lot of money one day, I'm going to find a 16-year-old that really wants a car as bad as I do, and I'll get it for him. It's one of those.
When you were inducted into the Hall of Fame, and you obviously were as well, you could have anybody come and speak. And what I thought was fascinating is here's this young woman, so poised, so extraordinary, Simone Ruffin, comes up and speaks. And I think to myself, if Andre Agassi isn't there supporting this young lady, where is she? You know? And there are a lot of kids like that. Do you think about that?
Yeah, I think about it every day. I've raised over my length of my foundation. I've raised 175 million, more or less, and which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But I promise you, it pales in comparison to, I feel like, what it's given me. Because I see these kids go on with the life of their choosing. I watch them think outside their own environment, be the first to graduate college or high school, let alone college. I watch them go on to a future of their choosing. It's a gift that keeps giving. Tennis was a platform that led to it, but seeing those differences being made, and this is my life now. I figured out ways to scale this so there's more kids I can reach, and it's a lot of fun. It's no longer, it's so much bigger than me at this point that I just feel like I've gotten more than I've ever given it. It's an amazing thing to change a child's future. It's an amazing feeling.
Talk to me about the genesis of this. So you sit down one day and you say, this is my vision. This is what I'm gonna do. How does it come about?
One day I'm 23 years old and I feels like I'm in the middle of my career. Turns out I was on the front side of it. I said this would be a great time to start a foundation and to help children, and looked at all sorts of ways to do it and picked a few and started to give kids clothes that needed it, started to help with a child haven, a shelter for abused and neglected kids, took care of that, then said, well, geez, after school programs, here are some problems. And then you realize you're just kind of reacting to these issues. You're sticking Band-Aids on real problems. So it was just a number of years later at a pretty low point in my life when I realized that I'm not going to be satisfied until I can actually give the tools to make real systemic change. And that was clear to me as education, partly so because my lack of education led me to such a disconnect in my own life. So I really started to shine a light on the source of the problem, and then that's when I set about the Herculean task of building a K through 12 public charter school.
You hear him say lack of education. I want to get your thoughts on this, and if you want to chime in afterwards, you can. But I've heard him in other interviews talk about this as well. And reading his book, I think this guy is not just a student of the game. I mean, he's a student of life. I mean, he took a lot of hard knocks. There are a lot of people who would have just gone, oh man, hang it up. But instead, he hit rock bottom, and he fought his way back. But I mean, he is such a bright guy in some respects, and yet talks about this lack of education, and life has taught him a lot, and boy, he's gotten all the lessons right, hasn't he?
Yes, I would absolutely say so. I mean, he's incredible about learning it. He wants to understand whatever comes across him, and sometimes it takes him maybe a little longer, but he, every intersection he takes extremely serious and looks at it from a lot of different angles, and that's been incredible. So he's all about learning, and I mean, I love how you say, every day is another day where you go out there and you learn something new, where every day is a day to get better, and you're so much about this, and
you can't teach either unless you're willing to learn, and I enjoy people learning from me, but they can't learn from you unless you're willing to learn from them. That starts with your children, the kids you're helping at the school. I mean, I've always had a thirst for knowledge. I'm a curious person. I'm an interested person. And for me, intelligence is about not just understanding something, but absorbing it, processing it, and then applying it. If you can do that, it's that cycle that really, I think, proves one's intelligence. I mean, education is a sort of a formal deal, and I'm regretful for not having it, because I think I could have. With education, I think there's choice, and I would have found myself interested in something or one thing or another. I'm convinced of it, but every day is that opportunity to learn something, and I put a great deal of weight on that.
There are a lot of former athletes who struggle with life after standing in the limelight, having the cheering, adoring crowds. But it doesn't appear to me either of you have. Was there ever a time where it was difficult walking away from the sport and starting a new chapter in your life?
Not at all. I mean, not for myself. I mean,
That was a good distraction for you, though.
Oh yeah, I mean.
Right when she's about to retire.
I know. I mean, life.
I had her future planned perfectly.
Yeah, that's the road life took me after my career was on a fast highway. Now, I mean, at the end of my career, I've had a few injuries, so I was kind of already understanding that retirement isn't too far around, and then, I just had a lot of thoughts and a lot of interests that I felt like I'm going to have time after my career to explore. And then came Andre and changed all of that anyway, and all my, visions of the future. But made it, now he said it right. Meeting him right after I retired, and I didn't think I would be around the tennis courts again after retiring
5-6 more
for
years.
a few more years. But
is it harder to watch him play than it is to play? I mean, knowing what you know.
What do you think? 4 hours of drama versus 47 minutes of a beatdown? What's your guess on that one?
Oh no, you're helpless on the sidelines. You see, you have such a good vision of, how things are going and which way they're going to go, and so it's you feel very helpless on the sidelines.
But separate from me entering her life at a certain intersection, she goes about her life. It was never about the applause. I mean, it was always about the work. It was always about what she did. It was always about pushing herself. It was always about her own connection to what she's doing, and she would have found that in anything afterwards. Walking away from that is
I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, and for me, the only tough part about retirement was the 2 months leading up to my retirement where I still had to play, because it's like the play's over in your head, I don't care if I win every tournament from here over the next 2 months. I'm done, I'm out, I'm gone, and I already felt like it was time for me to move on because I accepted that. The only time in my life when the ball looked fuzzy and everything else looked clear. Usually it's the opposite. You block out 23,000 people and all you see is a ball and a shadow on the other side with strengths and weaknesses. But for that time in my career, I couldn't see a ball, and all I saw were the faces, and that's a strange way to go. And when it was all over with, it was a big relief, huge.
Well, I think what people don't realize from the outside, you see the physicality of tennis and how powerful and difficult and all that it is, but the emotional side, I think, is something what people don't realize. I mean, that was actually something. The intensity of the emotions you go through day in, day out, the highs, the lows, the getting out there, what it means to be in front of people, and the pressures that you have upon you. And I got to say, I did not expect after retiring just kind of suddenly just this calmness that comes upon you. That I was trying to tell him, listen, this is, after retirement, it's just the emotional balance you find, that just is a relief to not go through these incredible emotions all the time. I mean, tennis on top of it, with tennis, especially during the times that we've played, 11 months a year. Our season, there's no breaks. You have all these sports where you have a few months off. Tennis, it's 11 months, and the month that's off, you got to start in Australia. So you're basically on a constant, unless you have a physical breakdown, you're constantly on the road, you're constantly preparing, you're constantly trying to get better. And all of that is over years, a pretty intense time.
Andre's focus is on young people here in Las Vegas. You have more of a world stage. Talk to me about what made you interested in going in with that approach. And also, if you would, talk to me about the need for what you're doing, because now we see Ukraine, we see Syria. It's not just Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, this landscape has changed so dramatically in recent years.
It's very hard to watch right now. I think similar to Andre, I found inspirations through my sport, through traveling and kind of realizing kind of how difficult or how different you can be raised, and depending on where you grow up and where you're born. As we travel the world, we don't only see the beautiful cities, but we do see the other sides. And so I, again, try to help different foundations, and through friends of mine got to know a doctor in Hamburg that worked at the university, a children's psychologist, and he introduced me to his work, which he worked with traumatized children through war, through violence. And it's something that once I met some of the kids, got extremely passionate about. It's so together we started a foundation, Children for Tomorrow. We help with psychology, psychotherapy to help these children to get through, understand what they've gone through, and hopefully help them, get back into society. But what you're saying is it's been incredible. It's we have a lot of children that come through from Africa, from Afghanistan right now, that have experienced incredible violence, death in the family, from killings around them. They've been on these tracks, these refugee children that come through different countries to make it to Germany, and some of them that have the most difficult journeys to reach, hopefully, a safer destination. And through our foundation, we try to help them to find hope again.
And maybe as a journalist, you've seen it up close, but when you see what she's doing with these children and you see the other side, you really see a child. I mean, hundreds of thousands of kids is a statistic, one child is a tragedy, and you're going, okay, but this one child reflects so much. So I see it from the outside, what she goes through and dealing with these kids, and then I see the news and I see stuff that's going on, and you just, it's all too real. It's just all too real. And it's not easy.
Sports is a numbers game, so I'm going to give you a chance to talk about the numbers that you're focused on now, which is not how many, Grand Slams you've won or any of that. You're focused on the numbers impacting children. So when you look at the landscape out there and all these conflicts, how many kids are out there that are suffering and struggling and trying to find their way?
We don't even know, but the UNHCR just brought out a few weeks ago numbers that there's 50 million refugees, the highest in ever, and half of them are children. So we're talking about at least 25 million just being on the run from violence, war. You look at the news in the moment, and you just feel like it's just can only go up from here. I mean, it's just the unrest that's exists in the world right now. It's and you don't even know all of the kids that are within their country living under the most severe circumstances.
And the interesting thing, both of you playing the sport, you know about injuries. I mean, you've probably had every known injury there is. But the injury that you're focused on now is these invisible wounds. These kids,
much harder to treat.
Yeah.
I mean, now, it's even with the specialized therapy that we provide, the treatments, and they're never always guaranteed to succeed in therapy, but they're 12 to 18 months just to help get back, to a positive attitude, and the difficulty that lies in a lot of the countries that we've gone in or understood now is the violence that they grow up with is unfortunately the violence they're going to fall into as well. It's just this extreme cycle that these kids grow up, and it's up to us to really break that cycle.
It's extraordinarily difficult to go out on a court and compete against somebody at the highest level. And you would almost think after that, you just kind of want to check out. But now both of you have picked these extraordinarily difficult tasks again, trying to save these kids in the environment that you're talking about, the environment you're talking about. But you both, I guess, is it the competitiveness in both of you that you're going to take on these challenges? I mean, what drives you?
Listen, one can sit here and think that life is about some destination, finish your career and you earn this luxury and go lay on the beach somewhere with a drink and an umbrella. But the truth is you realize pretty quickly that life is about how you engage with it today, period. So when you live this extreme challenge on the tennis court, you're getting constantly immediate feedback, and you're constantly making adjustments, and you're constantly engaged in such a intense way that you need outlets for that behavior, and so it does provide a platform for us to sort of have some skills that allow us to deal with these sorts of things. But then you're just hit with the reality that it's just a better way to live. It's just a better way to live, being engaged and not worried about where you end up, but concentrating on today and the step you're taking and the difference you're making. And it's just it's a way of life, and that's a choice.
And as parents, I mean, what a great thing you're teaching your children, huh?
Mm-hmm. Till a few years ago, they didn't realize we were tennis players. All they didn't know was daddy's school, and the kids that I was working with, they didn't even, when they started going to school, they had no idea we were tennis players, because all that, they've been to Andre's school, we've talked about such different things that.
I've built 39 schools now that are open this August across the country, and I go to every one of the openings, and when I'm there, and I'll ask some of the kids, okay, how many here first grade or something? How many here know what, who I am or what I do? And a couple raise their hand, and they're like, you build schools. And I'm like, I do, you're right. And a lot of them don't even remember, they don't know, they never grew up with it, whatever it is, and it's fine by me, but it's nice to do more now after you're done with your career. We have a platform. We have a platform to not just impact somebody for 2 hours, or in Steph's case, 47 minutes. But we have a platform to change generations, hopefully, and that's a privilege.
It's also, our life was so much surrounded around ourselves. You had to, everybody around you is helping you to perform at the highest level, and it's about this performance, and it's nice when the tension gets away from you.